How's everyone doing today? Today's message is a little bit different than my regular energy messages. Today, I want to talk about depression, suicidal thoughts. But before I get into it, my name is Maya G, and that's I am Maya G on Instagram and Maya G the Goat on YouTube. The sole purpose of my vlog is to help elevate you mentally, spiritually, and physically with my messages. Some of them are coming from personal experience, others are coming from conversation with my clients, and the others are coming from comments and DMs that I'm receiving from you guys. So while we want to talk about depression today, depression is actually a medical state to where your mind has resulted in focusing on the negative things that's happened in your past, things that you have no control over, whether it's from some trauma that occurred in the past, whether it's as simple as a breakup or a relationship that's come to an end, you losing your job, or somebody calling you ugly, and now you've it kind of triggered something in your mind, and it's put you in this emotional paralysis state to where you're unable to shake it. Now, why do I bring this up? Depression is really a term that, some people could be just feeling sad and they'll say they're depressed. Not to say that they're not, but there are real depressed people out here that have to take medication just to be normal, just to be okay, because they've been depressed for so long. It's ingrained in their paradigm, and it's kind of like has become a part of who they are. And those people are going through some really, really challenging time and trying to reprogram themselves to function like we do. Now, there's different ways and different aspects that we can look at actually helping ourselves when we fall into the space of depression and sadness. But today I really want to focus on being a good friend or a good neighbor to someone you may know that's going through depression. First and foremost, if you know anybody who tells you they're depressed, one thing you don't want to say is, "Why are you depressed? What now?" Don't chastise them. If somebody tells you they're depressed, acknowledge it. "I'm sorry to hear that. Would you like to talk about it?" But if you're going to ask them to talk about it, you have to be able to listen and not really comment. Just be a good ear. Just be a shoulder and just listen. Because see, with a lot of depressed people, they've convinced themselves, or whatever it is that negative chatter they have going on in their mind, they've convinced themselves that nobody that's gonna understand me. I'm just gonna go ahead and keep it to myself. And sometimes it may even go to a more extreme level. Nobody's gonna understand me. I'm just gonna go ahead and just, end it right here. I'm gonna go ahead and just take my life, then I don't have to worry about nobody. You see, what we need to understand about the human brain is it's like fertile ground. Every seed that you plant, the more you nurture it, the bigger it gets. It's like planting seed, it's like planting weeds. You plant weeds anywhere, this amount of weed will just take over your whole yard. So when you find yourself, or somebody who's constantly having negative conversation about themselves, those are the people that you want to watch, because a lot of them could be smiling in your face, but when they're by themselves, they're drinking, and they fall into this space of negative energy and just negative, self-sabotaging thoughts. And before you know it, you have a case in your hand. You have a friend or family member who's going through a rough time emotionally that you didn't even know. So when somebody tells you they're sad or depressed, the main thing you want to do is giving them a listening ear. I can relate to depression and suicidal thoughts. That's a space that I've been in a few times in my life, especially when I was a kid. We're not gonna go into the story now, but I had a very interesting childhood growing up, and I was suicidal at some point in my life. And I'm so thankful that I didn't take my life. I didn't jump over the cliff. I thought about the whole process on how I was gonna do it. So depression and suicidal thoughts is a personal thing to me. I understand it, but I gotta tell you, when you get into the space where you're no longer living for yourself, no longer do you care about your own ego, and you figured out your life mission is to serve others. When you get into that space where you take yourself out the picture and you've accepted the fact that you're merely a messenger, a servant that's doing a job on earth, oh man, it becomes a really, really enjoyable space to be in. When you exercise detachment, you're no longer attached to anything or anyone. You welcome love when love is here, and you let it go when love no longer exists. You welcome abundance of any sort, whether abundance be the fact that you have fresh water coming out of your sink, whether you have a clean car to drive around town, or you have nice shoes to take a bus. You are no longer attached to anything. Once you detach yourself, not only are you gonna become more financially abundant, because you really don't care about money, and whatever you're doing, you're not doing it for money. If money is the reason why you're depressed, once you stop doing things because of money, money just finds its way to you. Once you start loving yourself at a level that can't be denied, people can see it, then finding love or somebody to love you becomes so much easier. The secret to getting out of depression, the secret to getting out of sadness, is to let your ego go. Once you let your ego go, and you're not living for yourself, you're living to serve a purpose. It's bigger than you are. Then life becomes like just a fun thing. All the things that you wish for, all the things that you ask for, they just mysteriously start showing up in your life. But I'll tell you one little secret that I'm discovering for myself. If you're asking for success, and you're asking for abundance, you're asking for love, whether you're asking for all those things or you're asking for one of those things, there's a certain amount of change that you're gonna be required. So if your depression or sadness is triggered by the fact that you have not met the love of your life, the one reason why I personally say that you have not met the love of your life is because you have not met yourself. Because once you meet yourself, you accept yourself, you love yourself, the universe will bring you the appropriate partner for you to share that love with. It is not possible to meet somebody who is willing to love you at that level if you have not learned to love yourself at that level. And I hope this makes sense. You have to love yourself at a level of detachment, no attachment, willing to let anything and everything go. Then you will find that love within yourself. And when you radiate love, it's contagious. So you're just pulling in people that want to love you as you are. And if you're having challenging time and finding a love of your life or the love for you for right now, chances are you're not being your true self. You're not being your real self. So the universe cannot bring anybody who's done the work to you because you haven't done the work. Yeah, you might get an opportunity with other people, but you're still gonna feel empty inside because they're not what the divine, what God has for you. But if you don't want to do the work, you just want to kind of chill, you'll get somebody to chill with. But when you're willing to do the work, the real work, then the person that deserves you and you deserve them, and you guys make a complete match and you can grow together, that person's not going to show up until you have done the work for yourself. So if love is the reason why you're in that space of depression, here's the secret. Just work on yourself. I know it's hard. You don't want to do it by yourself, but work on yourself. You will be thankful. All right. So if money is the reason why you find yourself in this depressive state, start giving more. I find that when I'm vibrating low and I'm not feeling too happy with myself, I do things for other people. And as we do things for other people, it helps us feel better, because naturally speaking, we're built, we are created to serve. That's the truth. That's why when you give somebody $1, if you're able to give them $1, you feel so great inside. It's because you're created to serve. You're created to help others, not yourself. So if you're depressed about money, stop being selfish. Be more giving. And that's the secret to get out of the sadness with money. If your depression is triggered by things that has happened in your past, become the voice. Whether you got abused, molested, raped in the past, and it still has this toll over you, it still has its foot on your neck. If that's the reason that triggers your depression every now and then, when a bad relationship ends, or when an abusive relationship ends, or when something doesn't work out, that triggering from you being abused, that trauma keeps getting triggered, it's time that you pay attention to that trauma and face it head on. And how do you face that head on? Is to let the mask fall off. Tell the truth. Tell your story. Your story might be inspiring other people. Like I'm telling you, when I was a kid, I was so depressed that I could have killed myself. Like, who's gonna tell you this? I'm telling you this. Why? Because I know it's helping somebody out there. I was a very sad child, but I had to admit to myself that I had those issues. Not as a kid, as an adult, I had to be comfortable to come on and tell you, this is what I've been through. So to tell you that now I love my life so much because I have new eyes. I could see things differently now. So I'm telling you, if you're in that place of depression, or you know somebody who's in a space of depression, those are the 3 things that's holding them back. They're stuck in the past with trauma. They're having anxiety because they're trying to figure out what the future is holding. They're stuck in understanding why love won't find them. You can't find love if you haven't found yourself. I don't care who you ask, what they say to you. You cannot find love if you have not learned to love yourself. And also you cannot find true love if you have not learned the art of forgiveness. I'll go into forgiveness in another video, but you have to learn to forgive. You have to forgive your past. You have to forgive yourself. You have to forgive anybody who took advantage of you as a young person, a past lover. You have to be able to forgive everybody, because that real lover, the one that's gonna fit what you need, is gonna need you to come in with a free and open heart. If your heart is full of knives, if your heart is in a cage, you're not going to be able to receive the love that they have for you. My name is Maya G. Maya G the Go. Be sure to follow me on YouTube if you enjoy my message. Also, let me know if you like this angle better, this backdrop, if that's working for you. Do you like this mellow tone, or do you like my hyped up tone? I had to, calm down a little bit. This topic is a little sensitive to me personally, and I want to make sure that my delivery is heard by those who need to hear me. And lastly, any issues that you have with people in your past, if you have access to them, if you can communicate with them, write them a letter. Write them a letter and send it to them. Don't expect nothing in return. Just write them a letter, send it to them, let that anger, let that pain go. You deserve a better life. You deserve a new era, a new decade full of love, full of joy. Because let me tell you something, the new decade that's coming in is gonna be like none of it we've seen before. So you want to go in there with all the passion and all the love that you can bring. All right, that's been my message for today. Always a pleasure to serve you. My name is Maya G the Goat. You guys have a wonderful day, and remember, I love you.